Hi everyone and welcome. This is Lavender Sky Panther. Today is Sunday, August 28th, 2022, and the topic for the day is called SkySplain It. It's a collection of images and sky observations happening August 18th through the 23rd, 2022, and this is show number 167. This is the selected cover slide for this show, which has actually a fascinating craft atop the rim of a cloud here. And then the alternate cover slide for today was something very, very interesting. Actually, this started off as being the cover one and kind of gave me the idea to call it SkySplain this one, because we have like a light body craft kind of morphing and changing at the cloud rim here, directly alongside what is supposed to be a cumulus cloud form, which it really is not. There's a lot of cloaking craft going on in here, and there's this like dark void of a sky beam going on. A lot of really strange stuff, as you'll see in the show ahead. So before we get into things, I am going to include one Words, Wisdom, and Spirit of the Day page this time around. I did start off with the intuition. I was just going to pull 2 cards today. Something said just do 2. And as it turned out, I only picked one because it was a beautiful little dovetailing into one of the shorts I did earlier this week, and it's called Ori and Air Inspiration. And this really looked like a fairy, and so I paired it with the video game Ori and the Will of the Wisps, I think it's called again, and just a beautiful, visually beautiful video game. And this little thing up here that reminded me of a little creature, kind of like Ori, but actually more like a fairy. So when I selected this card, this is even more like it. Even the shape of this thing looks like this fairy off to the right. So then I'm like, all right, we're just sticking with this one card, and I'll reference the shorts alongside it. So I'm going to read this verbatim. It is just going to be a little excerpt from the guidebook, the little companion book to this really beautiful, beautiful card deck. And actually, I have it here. It's called The Oracle of the Hidden Worlds. It's by Lucy Cavendish, and the illustrations are by Gilbert Williams. It's just really an exquisite deck and really well written. So the excerpt of the meaning of it, I'm just going to go ahead and read it, and then I'll touch on a couple of the little symbolisms here. So the excerpt is this. First of all, it's number 17, which also could be considered number 8, depending on how you want to look at it. And it's Faery Energy, so growth, expansion, a flowering. And the excerpt goes like this. There will be a time of love, a time of caring, a time when the people are drawn to the radiance and beauty of your soul, which shines into the world. This gift is from the fairy, but the love and the blossoming you experience is simply what was meant to unfold from within you. The Fae do this without expectation, for you are as you are, like a human flower to them. Thank them and care for the natural world in return, and this exchange of energy will flow on, for it is drawn from an infinite source of love. So I really love that quote, just because it's inherently beautiful. But also, there is some special meaning behind it there. It really is true if you go out into nature and you thank the natural elements around you, even if it's just in your mind, just speaking out, emitting it out telepathically to the plants and to the air and to the ethers, to the trees. There is some type of force, I'll just say, that does work like that. I remember one time I heard of somebody, a spiritual mentor of mine said, if you go out and you do something nice out in nature, for nature, these elements or fairies do return, little gifts to you. So there was a day where I just decided to kind of clean up the trash in a park. I picked up little bottle caps and other little wrappers and things and just threw away what I could as I was doing exercise and walking around. And when I came back and sat down near this one trash can, I had thrown some stuff away and I hadn't seen anything on the ground. I sat down and just looked down, and there was this perfect little pink plastic heart sitting there kind of embedded in the soil, just meant for me to see. And I just kind of smiled, because to me that was nature thanking me for doing a little something extra and giving out to nature, trying to protect it and clean it. And that was my thank you. So there is something to it all. And I invite you to go give it a try if you haven't already done something like that. Anyhow, I do want to get to the card. And before I get to the card, actually, the number 17, or could translate down to a number 8 if that means something to you today. As I always say, I'll keep doing it every time. Have a look at the Australian blog site called Joanne Sacred Scribes. And she has a whole host of, beautiful positive meanings for the numbers. So take a look over there. She does it so well. I don't even want to dive into numbers. She does a great job. All right, so when we're looking at this Faery Energy, growth, expansion, and flowering, and we look at this card in the upper right, a lot of things come to mind. First of all, I love how this fairy has a wand, has this little kind of magical wand, but doesn't use it. Notice it's just emitting heart to heart, heart from the fairy to the heart of this flower. And that really is the most beautiful and magical way, when you don't even need a tool or a prop, to channel your energy or to send out your power. Just think of it, if you walk in a room and you just smile and beam a smile, that touches so many hearts on so many levels, and you don't need anything more than just your own essence. It works. It can work, yes. Like I've mentioned in a show way back where I brought in a couple dozen donuts into a really dreary office, people working in a corporate office, and just the entire room lit up. So that was with a prop, with the donut box did kind of almost, excuse me, almost what the smiling would do, but it hit everybody on a different level. So that just comes to mind. Now, also, when we look in the background on this card, we see the land is kind of swelling up and creating a hilltop with this beautiful tree flourishing on top of it, while we have a full moon in the background. And that also reminded me immediately of the power of planting on a full moon. So if you just even do an internet search, why do farmers plant on a full moon, you'll get something like this. I think this came from almanac.com, and it just says that the seeds will absorb more water during the full moon and the new moon when more moisture is pulled to the soil surface. This causes seeds to swell, resulting in greater germination and better established plants. Hold on one second. Okay, I just had to clear my voice, pardon me. So there's a real value to plant on the full moon and really study the moon cycles for that reason. Also, if you just think of it, the plants also themselves, the stems and trees act like wicks, and they draw the water up through the tree. And that even works with humans. Our body, like your water weight and stuff technically could also like draw up in your body and change a bit. So it's very important to pay attention to what's happening on the moon cycles for everybody. It's pretty fascinating. So that's all I'm going to say for now. And I just I had some sparkling little crystals here sitting next to me, and they seem to go with the cards. So I put them alongside on the border here, just adding to the special ness of this moment, like a very treasured moment when you can communicate with somebody without words, just from heart space to heart space, and you just feel the love. And I don't know if any of you have experienced this like I have, but you can even just think of a loved one. They can be thousands of miles away, and that person can feel that energetic message, so to speak, coming from your heart when you think of them with love. And I've had that proven where it could have been like a really odd hour that I thought of somebody, and then I got a text or a call in that precise moment from somebody thousands of miles away, and they felt that. So it's pretty amazing stuff. We are working in the world of the magical when we do these things, and it's an amazing, wondrous thing. All right, enough said about that for now. We will jump into the sky observation portion of the show. After one more. Sorry, I forgot I had another slide in here. This is kind of an exaggerated. I played around with some of the color saturation and stuff a bit, just to really try to pull out. It was hard to see it in the photo, but here was an amazing spider web woven here in the foreground, and there was another one kind of crisscrossing it in the background, parallel to it, a totally different one from a different spider. This is a crab spider. So the kind of interplay with the sunlight coming through is pretty amazing with this thing. So I just thought it looked like a work of art to me in more ways than one, so I wanted to post that, and I just called it Dual Webs. Okay, now we'll get into the sky observations portion of the show, and I'm going to try to fly through it a bit, just because I have a small window to record this. It's kind of late where I'm at. So anyway, this one, we're looking north in the skies over Miami, and I'm sorry, I forgot to do my little preface here. I'm not going to go through the whole long version of what I'm doing here and why I'm doing it. I invite you to look at some previous shows for that information. Otherwise, I think you'll catch on rather quickly as I go through this. So on the left-hand side, we have the original photo. The right-hand side is the enhanced version, where I just edit attributes of the photo, such as color, saturation, brightness, and things of that nature, just to kind of draw out and highlight things. In this case, I took all the color away just to help us see things in a slightly different way. Kind of that brain to eye coordination. We're just changing it up a bit. So here right away on the original on the left-hand side, I saw a triangular form, undoubtedly a huge triangular form with straight lines. And, we've talked about this before. Natural clouds don't do that. And then it almost looks like there's a void triangle up here above it. So like this whole thing maybe just slipped through or departed from its, camouflaging, cloaking in this other mass and is like breaking off and doing its own thing, off-roading it. Anyway, while we're looking, I also see like a pure circular, 2 circles here. Very pure in form, very rigid and crisp lines. And when we go to the right-hand side with the enhancement, I didn't see that before I started the show. I'm seeing it now. It still holds up here. So I'm going to say this is some cloaking object in its own right over here as well, in addition to something going on with this cloud, within this cloud, for it to kind of move out of that assembly. We have a wisp doing its own thing up here as well. Oh, hang on one more second. Okay, I'm back. And there's a lot of other activity, but I do want to get into other parts of the show which have more obvious examples of things going on. But before we do that, go to the next slide. I also see a straight line here and almost like a right angle. So there's also something cloaking up here as well. All right, now I did some lines. I overlaid some sketch lines, really rough sketch lines, also to show what I was looking at before, just in case it wasn't clear to you that we have the triangle down here, the void triangle here, and another one here. So I'm going to go back, toggle back and forth. Just keep your eyes on the right-hand side, like the right-hand side of this image as I go back and forth. And so hopefully you can see what I was seeing. Okay, that just helps some people. Some people don't need it. Whatever works for anybody. I'm just trying to accommodate and make sure you can see what I see. All right, now here's another side-by-side. And in this case, I'm going to let's focus on the right-hand side with the enhancement. So we've got this oblong, kind of this elliptical shape, kind of emerging out of this wisp-like activity, but it has definite outline and structure to it. And it looks like it's kind of coming down this way. Then we have a definite point up here. So this is a dark triangle, and it looks like some object is like kind of flying out of that triangle. So in this case, is that triangle an object, or is it a portal? Some type of gate opening where the interdimensional gate, where this thing is just kind of like flying up out of it. I don't know. This also looks like a perfect pointed ellipse at D.1 down here. So I'm going to say that's a cloaking object as well. Very interesting scene. Also, we have the tip of a triangle here, so that's another sky imprint or some object cloaking down here as well. It's very multi-layered sometimes and hard to get a grasp. Even over here, this is an old number, sorry, see point to it here. But this thing also has a point to it, this kind of dark void triangle shape. So, and then there's like a little pipe end here. So, I mean, there's a ton of cloaking craft, I think, kind of overlapping each other all over the place. See what you can see. Okay, now this one's a little more straightforward, although they look like little companion craft alongside a big one. And we can see that better on the enhanced version. So here we have like an arrowhead shape, half an arrowhead shape going there with a very stick-like shape, or line connected to it, which looks like it has mass. So I'm calling that a cloaking craft in its own right. It looks like a little companionship to a bigger one here. Look at, we have this perfect curve. We have like down here along the edge, there's a regular pattern of little holes and divots. So to me, that's definitely an engineered object. And other little things back in here do have a look and feel of something being engineered. So then we have at 8.1 up here, another triangle. Look at this, sharp point, straight edges. So we're definitely talking about something that's engineered that is not just natural clouds. So that's why I say it's cloaking craft. Is it, E.T. in nature, extraterrestrial, or even interterrestrial from the inner Earth? Or is it, a collaboration between humans and ETs? That's possible. I don't think it's just straight up human technology, that's for sure. See what you see. All right, now we're looking northeast in a parking lot. and just looked up, and this was very low in the sky. And whenever I see totally different movement where this is going more or less vertical, this is coming across not quite horizontal, but at a totally different angle than this, and this is going off yet again at A in a whole nother direction, that tells me we've got some type of cloaking craft or activity going on up there, because natural clouds don't just move in all different directions like this. So with some extreme enhancement, we see like a triangular form at B.1. I couldn't get it too much with this whole little C.1 mass, so I thought let's just focus on A.1. There's a lot of weird stuff going on here. This looks very organic if you look at it. It's like, I don't know, it reminds me of like a trilobite, those fossils, or like a horseshoe crab with a little more ornate things going on up here, if that's the top of its shell. It's really bizarre. Definitely looks like an organism to me more than some type of technical craft. It looks very interdimensional to me as well. See what you think is going on there. We're going to zoom in one more time. I took the color out just to look at it in a different way, and look at it. Doesn't it look like some prehistoric fish or something flying through the sky? Really bizarre. See what you think. All right, now this scene is looking west, and what caught my attention, we can spend time on the right on the enhanced version, is that the sun felt very artificial yet again. I do talk about there being an artificial sun, a solar simulator, with patents pulled in the early 1960s. It's proven, it's documented. A ton of other Earth and Sky Watchers are, catching this left, right, and center, and have been, especially since like 2014, 2015-ish, and just more and more we're seeing it. But anyway, what caught my attention here was not only that the sun was acting strange again, and not only that we have all this blanketing of, artificial stuff, covering it and concealing that artificial sun and tech. But look here, we get a nice backlit opportunity to see there's an object cloaking in front of it on angle, especially at B.1. It's a triangular, look at that, a triangular form popping out here. And then, this overall bar-like form absolutely looks like technology to me, and some type of an engineered cloak and craft. See what you think. We zoom in, that might help you give you a better idea of what's going on. And look at this, that's a perfect triangular form, rounded, at the tip. And then this thing, it's really straight, and it looks like it has cloaking material wafting or wafting in front of it. So I definitely think this is one massive craft of some type or object of some type. All right, now we're going to look to the west, and this was just a really bizarre scene. Again, these aren't normal cloud formations. I've lived on this planet for many decades. I'm very familiar with this area in southeast Florida, in Miami, Florida. And, we just never had skies like this. And the more we look, we start to see a massive sky imprint of a triangular form. If we look to the right, you might be able to pick it out a little bit better. That would be one corner, another corner, and the tip of the triangle. There's a lot of other things going on in here, though. I'm going to leave this one to you to kind of take a look at your own time. The more you look, the more you're going to find as far as cloaking objects that I haven't tagged, with a little highlight number. But see what you can see in there. All right, this at first glance may not look like much because there's a lot of particulate in the air, a lot of stuff masking out what's going on in the skies. But with enhancement, with this wonderful digital technology, with these cameras, this is just taken on a camera phone, we can, draw out some things that are really going on in there through programs like Photoshop or PowerPoint, anything that allows you to up or lower the levels of the contrast, the color saturation and brightness, and you can start to really see some great stuff. So I hope you're doing this wherever you are in the world, that you even take just 2 to 5 minutes a day, really look around you up in the skies, 360 degrees, really start to notice different patterns, colors, just things that feel weird as well, feel off, and start to document something too. Start a channel if you haven't. Be great. The more of us that are showing what's going on over the skies overhead, wherever we are, we can really compare notes and see what's going on in the bigger picture in this world. Anyway, what's interesting here is the color signatures. At B.1, we have a violet plum-like color, reddish, and then we get into more, blues, royal blues, cyan, touch of that, some indigo. And then in the back of all of this, though, is this insanely artificial-looking white light, which, is supposed to be where the sun is setting. Even though this is to the north, we would be getting effect of the setting sun, coming over this way toward the right, and that's just not natural looking at all. But anyway, within this scene, we kind of start to see the tip of something, so I suspect that this is a cloaking craft, a ship, and then up here something else is happening as well. I think this is overall a more massive form with some Plasma, cloaking material happening in front of it. My go-to is just going to be called cloaking material plasma because it's heavier and denser than water vapor, clings to things and hides things really well, hangs around in the atmosphere. All right, let's move on. Now, this was in a parking lot looking to the south, looked up, and I just saw a very different cloud type, slammed up right next to this very different cloud type, and neither looks like a natural cloud. Neither is a traditional cumulus cloud. The character of it looks very artificial. And so anyway, it looks like this thing is emerging out of this, is what I see. And it's another pointed, elliptical, flattened, pointed ellipse. So anytime we see perfect symmetry, which this more or less has, again, to me, that's some type of engineered object or craft. Hold on one more moment. Okay, I'm back. So let's look at this with enhancement. And this is what we get. And we also have really, really weird things happening here along the top. And that, again, would never be a natural cloud situation. So that's why I know there's absolutely artificial movement and activity and things cloaking in this thing. But let's move along. There's something in here, too, I think that's kind of bar-like. But let's see what else we can see. I keep saying that, but now I also see a triangular imprint, a darker, like a straight line, straight line, straight line. So there's a lot going on in the scene as well. All right, this one is pretty straightforward. There's a nice backlighting effect. There we go. That really clearly shows the heavier, darker mass here, triangular shapes with cloaking material kind of passing in front of them. To me, that's very clear that we're dealing with that, because there can be no perfectly, straight edges and triangular shapes and clouds, at least not in the past. And now all of a sudden we're seeing these things more and more. All right, this one I'm not going to spend too much time on, but the left is the original, the right is the enhanced version. And again, we have a straight line, so that's the bottom part of a triangle form. Here, there's so much cloaking, puffed up, kind of cloaking material. It's almost like a pipe or machinery is blowing this stuff out to, pass over the top of some of these craft to try to blend in with the clouds. And here, there's something very different in character. It looks like metallic, like we're seeing a glimpse of parts sticking out on the top if there's like a deck of a ship or something. These almost also look like exhaust ports or something. They're roundish at the bottom. So again, a lot of stuff is going on that's not easy to explain, to make a little pun, tongue-in-cheek reference back to our title for the show. All right, now this was very strange looking toward the east. We have this like tract, like a void working through with a weird shape to it, and it's like outlined on both sides. And in no case is that a natural cloud. Other little things here happening at sea that, really kind of triggered me to look at it with extra, give it a little more attention, and to note right away we're dealing with cloaking craft, especially when we start to look in this B area. We're going to zoom in. So here's the first pass with the enhancement. Already I see two outlines of circles, perfect circles on angle. They're kind of splayed on angle, and a straight bar. Can't be any more of a stick, a straight stick coming across. So I think that's compartmentalizing sections of some type of craft. It's just too perfect to be anything other than, a sophisticated, advanced technology, engineered craft. We zoom in, you can see those circles I'm talking about. And then, this straight line across. So what do you see in there? On top of that, we see the tip of some type of craft, or maybe that's the craft in its entirety, but it's symmetrical, a truncated triangular form with stuff kind of hanging off the middle part. And we have a weird triangular shape, more or less, with rounded corners happening here at B.2, and another dark form with straight edges happening at A.2. There's a lot of splaining to do on this one, too. There's going to be more questions than I have answers for. See what you see in that scene, though. We're going to go in one more time. It's bitmappy if you're on a bigger laptop screen. If you're on a handheld device, it might be easier to see. But we have the whitish, color showing these perfect circular forms and this straight line, hard line. So we're dealing with technology here that's being cloaked. And we got another kind of metallic object here that's symmetrical popping up. This little tab here at where my cursor is, and the question marks. All right, this one, again, is kind of straightforward. When it's backlit, we see triangular forms with like cloaking material wafting in front of it, and other weird little objects. This one, overall scene was just really bizarre looking east-northeast. And look at this outline. To me, this is a cloaking craft, but in this case, we just see the outline of it. And there's a weird stick-like thing very defined shape happening down here at A. The overall scene is just rather bizarre, and so is C in and of itself. So we're going to look with some enhancement. Oh, and when I go back, we got more triangular form. So now I'm just taking the color out of it just to try to look at the overall form a little bit better. We're going to look at it, just this one piece that C is actually over here, trying to highlight that out and see what's going on, where this outline kind of comes through it or passes through it. It's really bizarre stuff. We're going to go into the tip of that thing that we were just looking at. And we start to see something very interesting. There's a machine part popping out of here. This looks like the top of like a manhole cover, like a shield. There's a circle with radial spokes, perfectly engineered coming out of here. What's even more fascinating with this is these dark dots are not like bugs or anything passing over. These are regular and spaced out evenly, and they are pitch black, and these are the tips, the ends of pipes or exhaust or something. We're going to zoom in on this. It's really amazing. Look at this. I've not done anything to this photo other than zoom in and enhance just upper and lower the levels of some of the attributes. That's it. And these stay true, and they are just jet black, and they have a rim around them. So those are pipes. So we are dealing with an engineered object, hands down. All right, now we're going to look at this. We get a little backlighting. This just looks odd. It felt odd. This is kind of blurry to the naked eye. There's more of what do you want to say, like the Q-tip, the head of a Q-tip shape here, with a weird thing coming off and splaying out like a whale tail on its side. And then we have the cloaking material coming around it. And then what is this? Are these things like rising up to it, or is it kind of like a hot air balloon that like has dropped little things out of it? It's really bizarre, but I'm going to say this is cloaking craft and cloaking objects of some kind. All right, this is looking east in the morning, and at first glance on the left hand side, one could just say, oh well, excuse me, you have like a straight edge here. Yeah, okay, it's triangular formed, but oh sorry, hang on one more second. Okay, I'm back. So you could just say, okay, well, all right, maybe there's a cloaking triangle, but there's so much more going on here. So we look to the right with enhancement, and look at 8.1. There's a burst of energy coming down, a totally different color signature that's white and ethereal looking. And then as we follow that trajectory, we see a triangular form right here. So it looks like a triangular craft just burst out of this thing, and it's just sitting there. And then we have another, triangular form back in here, the one here, something odd happening in here. See what you see in that scene. All right, now this one was looking north, and I did a shorts video, YouTube video on it to set to the crisscross jump, because we've got this crisscross, through the sky. I invite you to go look at the shorts to get a better zoom in and detail on this whole scene, because as I was doing the video, I didn't zoom in with the camera and just do that, and I didn't want to stop the video and take screenshots and all that. So just go have a look at that shorts if you're interested in seeing. There's a lot more detail zoomed in on that, X form. All right, this one I also made a shorts of, and this is pretty extraordinary if you look at this form. So the left-hand side's the original, and this was just such a well-defined shape that reminded me of like a little whale with a spout at the top. And then we have some void triangular forms, and then we have these round circles that are equally spaced. So to me, it's like either a whale spouting water or a panther paw. So go ahead and look at that shorts too. It's a recent one if you want to see a little more as I pan around now with the camera. Now this one, you can see the triangular forms much better and the holes. And then again, here's what I'm just fondly calling this little whale, with this little tail and his little spouting water. Look how this is poised on the top of this supposed cloud activity here. So right off the bat, I'm going to say that there's cloak and craft hiding all in here. I have a lot of reasons to support that, and a picture coming up to support that idea too. But then as we look down toward the rim, this might be a little cloaking object that's come out. But we see a very clear triangular form with a vapor trail. So to me, that's also cloak and craft. That's maybe has come in from God knows where and is flying in to hide into this mass is what I see. I don't see that it's a triangle coming out and going the opposite way. See what you see, though. Here we're going to zoom in on this really amazing figure. There's things happening even within it, but I believe it's going in and out of state of transitioning, so it's hard to get a fix of what exactly is going on here. But we are going to look at it, we see that triangular form really well now, up here and here, circular forms or oval forms. It's really fascinating, this whole thing. 8 minutes later, it starts to look like it's falling apart, but at the same time, it looks like it's reforming into something else, into other shapes. And here we see it with some enhancement. And again, we get this right angle notch out here, so it looks like imprints of some kind of craft going on along there as well. It's really bizarre. What do you see in that scene? Oh, and this is like a triangular form that's breaking away from this mass. It looks like it's leaving it to go fly somewhere. So there's a lot of head-scratching moments in the scene. Okay, now we're going to zoom in on that triangular form I said that has the vapor trail. And here we see it's very well defined. That's no natural cloud. All right, now we're going to look to the northwest, and this was just really bizarre. Normal clouds don't do this. They don't have this character, this fraying type patterning and everything. And then in the same breath, so to speak, then you got something that's trying to be a cumulus cloud, but it's not. These are also artificial. So we look to the right-hand side with enhancement. We see the tips of triangles, 3 of them right there. So these look like 3 sky imprints. So are those portals? Are they objects? Are they something else? Hard to say, but man, they have triangular shapes. And those don't occur in natural clouds, as I always say. So we've got some really bizarre activity going on in here. And of course, I'm suspecting cloak and craft. And also, who knows, this wisp-like stuff can be interdimensional beings or activity. It's just really hard to say, but this thing is like explosive and fanning out in all different directions. I don't know what to make of it. If you have any great ideas or even just fun, fantastical ones about what could be going on here, by all means, let me know in the comment section below if you feel like it. Okay, here we go. This is why I say there's these clouds that don't feel like regular cumulus clouds are absolutely kind of like ports or havens for all kinds of craft to be cloaking in there to come and go as they please. So when I was looking way off into the distance at this cloud, I zoomed in because at along the rim I saw what looked like a craft kind of cloaking because there's a different texture and consistency on the vapor here. And then I saw this pure, clean curve that also just wouldn't happen sitting in a cumulus cloud. So I thought, I'm really suspecting stuff going on here to be cloaking craft in there. So with some enhancement to the right, look at this. There's a dark triangular shape tucked in here, another triangular shape tucked here at the front. And this is looking very odd and constructed. And look again, we got this perfect like ring, partial ring coming along here. It looks like it's going into like a cave or something. And this, I can only get a really faintest tracing of a different vapor, but I did see something that looked like it was poking out at times more and then hiding at times, which I really think is more cloak and craft perched on the rim of this overall assembly. See what you see in here, though. This is absolutely a triangle because it's hanging over the edge, It's really bizarre stuff going on these days. Okay, talking about bizarre stuff, this cloud was west-northwest. I had to pull over. I was driving, and I had to catch this because I started to see what always looks like a cloak and craft forming at the top. I've covered this in other shows where I'm starting to see craft perched on the rims of these huge cloud assemblies. This had all the telltale signs of being artificial cloud. It erupted up out of nowhere in extreme low altitude, going vertically up. There's a weird otherworldly cyan color, like this cloud was self-illuminated at the top. And then we get this weird object here, which is, sitting and forming, and it starts morphing and changing. Now, additionally, we get these weird shadows, which cannot be explained by any, any typical physics or laws of natural physics or whatever. Light physics, this just cannot be created without there being some kind of strange object that we can't see in here somewhere. We look to the right with enhancement. You see that this is looking more and more like an object, and in no way, shape, or form would it be, creating shadows like that. And then we have this strange thing coming along pretty darn straight. Looks like an object is breaking away and heading to the right. And then this thing curving. This, it's just looks too perfect in its form to be an organic cloud. So we're going to zoom in and look at this feature up here. Again, these weird shadows all over the place, not really connected to anything that would make sense with a natural cloud. And this is starting to get very well formed. And look how different the color is when we put the enhancement on than the thing it's sitting on. That should not be. So then we're going to zoom in yet again with some enhancement. I'm playing around with some of the color saturation to get at what is this object. And it's looking more and more like a perfect craft. So we have like 2 elements that look parallel. We have a hole in the middle, and this looks like a hole at the tip at the end. So to me, we're absolutely looking at some type of craft in the sky here, and it's got a little bit of a vapor trail behind it as well. So we're going to zoom in again, and this becomes the cover. And it's fascinating. I can't, I'm actually speechless. I mean, I don't know what more we'd have to look at to see that that's a craft. We look at the curves here, that they're parallel, and these two things like arms also, you know, more or less parallel. This looks like a little bit of a side wing, and that we're looking at the top of it like pitched slightly on angle behind this quote-unquote cloud. See what you see, though. Here I'm kind of bleaching it out, and I'm really upping the brightness so that we can get at what this shadow form is in the background. So again, you know, there's no way this kind of a shadow would be thrown on anything with just this natural cloud. So we have to ask what the heck is going on in this scene. And here's like the rough, rugged outline too of the other shadows. This is just so bizarre. But I can just tell you, there's absolutely artificial things, technology going on up here. And hopefully all will be revealed sooner than later, because we're just getting glimpses of it now. All right, here's another wild scene, another few seconds later. Here on that companion, where is it? I'm going to go back a minute. Happening like somewhere over here. At the same time, we have this going on. So this is supposed to be a cumulus cloud in the front, but it's absolutely not. And then this thing is morphing and changing behind it. So I think, again, this is some type of craft form. And in no way, shape, or form would we just have this solid void beam coming from right behind this thing. There's nothing natural to, you know, create that. And so I'm, again, playing around with the color, the brightness and stuff and contrast to see what the heck is going on in this scene. And it looks like we have some, like, vapor, you know, coming in front of this beam, but it's all slam dunk. I mean, not slam dunk. It's all slapped up right next to each other, this stuff. This isn't like being cast from far off on the horizon. No, it's local right next to this whole vertical column of cloud assembly. What I want to say is, so here's this thing. It's not happening way far away. It seems to be just happening right here local. It's so bizarre. And look how it's just cutting through whatever vapor stuff's going right behind it, right above it here local. Again, I'm stumped on this one. I'm not even going to try to figure that one out. Hold on one more second. Okay, I just say I'm not going to try to figure it out because I think more is going to be revealed here. But for now, maybe you have some great ideas. Look at this white object to the right, sitting there. Actually, sorry, we'll go to the left. Look at this white thing at D, sitting right next to something that looks nothing like it. It's side by side. So we know something is up here, literally. We look to the enhanced version. It's really white. And now look, it's crossing in front of this beam. So this void. So what the heck is going on in this picture? If you have any ideas, again, let me know. Also look at our color signatures. Along the rim here, we get little real reddish hues, while everything else, excuse me, on the back side is blue. Hold on one more time. Okay, pardon me when I step away. I'm just clearing my voice. All right, so now we're going to zoom in on these rather unusual features of the cloud rim. Maybe trying to get any other better insights of what's going on. I myself am still stumped, especially because now we get a hint of a shadow of this beam even crossing in front of this thing as it simultaneously is behind it. See what you think is happening. All right, now I'm going to extreme enhancement with the color saturation to see what's going on with our little object there, that big white object. And this is about all I can pull out. So to me, we get, you know, defined lines the more we zoom in. And that the crux or the core of this thing is absolutely this white portion. But we also start to see little elements that look very constructed to me. So I'm going to say that is absolutely cloak and craft. See what you think. And that's it for this show. This is the photo of the show, the close of the show. And this is simply a coconut palm tree in South Florida. And just thought these were growing beautifully in the color. The yellow golden is just so beautiful with the blue sky beyond. So thanks for hanging around here a while. Hope you enjoyed the show. And Sunday turning Monday where I'm at. I wish you a beautiful week ahead. More importantly, just a gorgeous right now. Tremendous peace and love to you. Lavender Sky Panther. Bye.